Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's Eclectic Kelpie, and this is Adult Color Glasses, the show where I rewatch childhood media satirically and sincerely. And today we are going to be watching the Disney classic 1950 Cinderella. This is actually a fun story. The inspiration for Adult Color Glasses came from when I was watching this quite a few years ago with a friend, and I was talking about a particular scene, and I was like, that would be kind of fun to make content on, like, critiquing the media in such a absurd and satirical way. So yeah, that's what prompted this idea. So we're finally doing the 1950s Disney classic Cinderella. So I'm really excited and I hope you enjoy. Now without further ado, let's watch this movie. I loved when Disney did the classic storybook openings. So cute, such a cool idea. I think they only really did it. I think maybe Jungle Book was the last one that Disney did the storybook openings with. But it's just cute because they're all the classic fairy tales, and this is where the love of fairy tales and fantasy came from, of course. Very cute. But yeah, I really like it. And it's just so pretty, and it just adds to the animation. You know that meme of I thought I was gonna grow up to be a Disney princess, but I actually grew up to be Lady Tremaine. Yeah, it checks out a little bit. They say he wanted to find Cinderella a new mother from a respected family and etc etc. And oh, her true nature was revealed later on, but I feel like that would be such a interesting component to the story. Obviously this is not, oh man, I don't want to wish into existence another Cruella where it's the origin story of Lady Tremaine, but I kind of want that a little bit. But I want it to be animated and I want it to be good. But I think that would be really interesting because why is she so mean? Not just in terms of obviously oh, we have to have a good person and a bad person, and it's all very fairy tale true love conquers all blah 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 whatever. But actually in terms of a person, how do you end up that way? I'm really intrigued. I want to know what happened to her. Cause yeah, how did they Cinderella's dad and the evil stepmother even formulate this marriage? I want a little bit of a backstory. Just a skosh. Just enough to satisfy the hows and wheres and whats and whom's. But I really don't want to wish Disney live action sequels into existence. But also, man, who could enjoy AI when there's this that exists? That's how I'm feeling about it, because this is so beautiful. The old, almost oil painting style, it's just gorgeous animation. And I think that's just delightful. What a nice house to grow up in. Obviously she grows up in the attic after her dad passes away and it's awful, but this is a huge, beautiful mansion. I've never listened to the narrator backstory of the house. A lot of the Cinderella adaptations do explain oh, they were too frivolous and they spent all of the money and the money is gone and blah blah blah, but I've never listened to this one explain that they used all the money for vanity, they abused Cinderella, they actually used the word abused, and then forced her to become a maid, which obviously, of course, she's being abused. But, it's just really interesting. I've never really paid attention before. So, actually also, I feel really listening to this opening and, the reputation that the old fairy tale stories have, I feel it's so negatively simplified to say oh, Cinderella just wanted to go to the ball and dance and she wanted to meet a man and to have him rescue her. I think she just was surviving in a traumatic environment and wanted to escape, and that was a part of the escapism fantasy, and I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot. I don't think it's just, oh, she's so shallow and blah blah blah. No, I think that like there's something so incredible to be said about somebody who can go through such extreme treatment from childhood up into adulthood, and then to still be able to be kind and have hope in the world and see goodness and conduct oneself with like grace and integrity and not adopt those behaviors that are being demonstrated, especially in childhood, because that's a lot of like, you know, learned behavior. It's conditioning. That's just psychology. So it's actually quite a beautiful message. Yeah. I think it's a lot more complex, and I think people like to simplify it down a little bit too much. Honestly, under the right circumstances, this song is so beautiful and it slaps. Because it like, I don't know, if you can't be Delulu and try and shoot for your dreams, what is the point of the world? What continues forcing, like, making us live in the capitalistic hellscape that we are forced to exist in? Dreams are the point. So I like it. I like it. Motivational Picasso. This little interaction is, I've also never like clocked or paid attention to this. This is so funny. Look at this smug little red bird who's like, I just went and sang with Cinderella and she was happy about it, and you're just jealous because you don't like whimsy. And this other bird's like, meh, whatever, okay, fine. Like, go be whimsical, I'll get over it. And it's just really funny because, yeah, why not? Don't let anybody shut you up. You go and you sing and you be smug about it afterwards. What possible activity in the night, unless they're treating that tail like hair, what possible activity in the night could you be doing to get your tail to be so knotted up like that? That feels questionable. Perhaps it was just a design choice because they're like, oh, let's do like a fun little animation. Oh, haha, that's so funny. The tail's, like the mouse's tail got all like twisted up while he was sleeping. How fun and how cute. But like, what possible activity? Because if you think of a mouse's tail, that is, what is it made of, like cartilage? It's not a twine. This is just absurd. Oh my gosh. Okay, she's actually so traumatized. She's like, the whole thing is like, she's talking about how like, even a clock orders me around, but nobody can get me to stop dreaming or being in my head. Yeah, maladaptive daydreaming and escapism because she's been literally abused is what the narrator said in the beginning during the opening sequence. She's not just trying to have a prince, she actually just doesn't want to be a indentured servant. She's Delulu because she's traumatized. This is ideal. This is the world I want to live in. Animals doing my housework for me. That's so interesting. And I've also never clocked that before, is the lady mice and the lady birds are like shooing the male mice and the male birds out of the room because Cinderella's about to take a little shower. How considerate and conscientious. That's such an interesting like additional animation thing. I mean, maybe that was important like in the 50s because they were a lot more like, oh, segregate the genders, you know, all that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, that's so interesting. I've never clocked that before either. And this was the scene that sparked the idea for adult colored glasses. So now is my time to shine and get to pop off. She's showering in the attic. She is on the toppest floor of a wooden house. The floor is made out of wood. There is no drainage system. There didn't appear to be any, like, basin, because I know that there used to be, in the early times of the world, people would have, like, basins that they would step into, but we cannot assume that that is what happened. So in my mind, I am picturing that she is standing on the floor, and a bunch of water is getting poured onto her, and she is now creating wood rot in the top of her attic. And she does not have the money to fix such things. And she is also a servant, and they would not pay to have her floor fixed. Maybe they would pay to have their ceiling fixed. But why would she do this? Why would she do this? Just sponge in the basin that was where they collected the water. Why would you create wood rot? Anyways, that was my thoughts. But no, for real. Why would you, like, on wood floors? This is, like, one must assume that this is the 1700s. The structural integrity of this house that is already going into disrepair because they've squandered their money is now at risk of even further damage from internal water damage. Why would you cause water damage to your own home when you have so little left of it anyways? Thank you for coming to my rant. Yeah, man, there's literally... Last thing on the water damage. There's literally no way that there's an internal drainage system. So even if she did have a bucket, where is she is she throwing that water out the, like, window? I mean, she could. However, that is not practical. It's just a mess. And the house is falling apart and she has internal water damage. I also like that little detail. Let's scoot back for just a second. They tie it, like, perfectly, right? That's a perfect bow. She pulls it to be, like, a floppier, more imperfect bow, and I like that because this girl is not about being vain or performative or presenting a particular kind of thing. She's just about function, and she's about, like, feeling comfortable. Maybe it's more comfortable that way. It doesn't have to be a perfect bow, and I like that little detail. It also, actually, more pertinently, it's probably she has so little that she can actually control. So the, like, anything that she can have control over, and the detail of her, like, putting this bow exactly how she likes it is probably way deeper in terms of her, like, mentality and psychological state than it is just about, like, the bow itself. It's, this is how I like it, this is what's comfortable, and this is the only thing that I have a say over is the tightness and the, like, structure of this bow. And that's very depressing. But also, I love that little detail because you could dissect it, and yeah, it's way more meaningful than just a bow. This is very a product of its time because they're like, no, it's a boy mouse. And she's like, oh, that'll make a difference then. No more dresses. That. You can wear a dress if you want to. Enjoy. Live your best aesthetic. Could you imagine, at the end of your indentured servitude, having to walk up all those flights of stairs just to go to bed, to then wake up, to then go back into your indentured servitude, to do it all over again the next day, and the next day, up and down those stairs? That's torture in itself. That would not be fun. Stairs are not fun, even if you are the most athletic person in the entire world. That would be tedious, exhausting, and that is the worst part of the torture that she is enduring. Probably not, actually, but it is definitely high on the tier of enduring awful treatment. I also wonder, obviously this is magical, like, but, like, because you could go into being like, oh, Cinderella is actually crazy, and she completely daydreams up this entire story, and it's actually all just, like, maladaptive daydreaming. And that's also really crazy and sad, but it's such an interesting perspective if you like look at this movie from that lens of like taking away the magic and taking away the like fairy tale essence of it and just be like, this is a traumatized child who was raised in an abusive household, and now she has mice as friends, and she like dreamed up a fairy godmother to like take her away from her horrible house treatment and all of that. And that's just like really dark, actually. That it's super crazy to think about it from that perspective. Because yeah, that in like the world that we live in context, that's what it would be. And that's, man, just treat people with kindness. It's so much less effort to not be an asshole because you actively don't have to do anything. You just don't do the thing. Don't say the asshole thing. Don't do the asshole thing and just leave people alone. And then there's no problems. And then we just be kind. And then it's a better time on this floating rock in the middle of space where that got really existential. We're going to move on. This would be just the most incredible place to live. It is so beautiful. I love the blue, like the like iron staircase railing, the huge windows. If it wasn't for the mean step people, what a delight. I think that's the most unrealistic part of this entire movie is calling a cat like that and being like, come here, and them actually doing it. My suspension of disbelief has been suspended. This is unhinged, but she's extraordinarily talented if she can balance on her head like this. Like, that's insane. That's so unhinged to, like, be screaming so loud that she can hear you in the kitchen of a huge mansion. You're giving yourself laryngitis. I thought you would have had more self-control, like, self-concern. Not even care for her, but, like, just take care of your vocal cords. But also, it's not gonna make her go faster. You're just being a bitch. I don't know what she made. It looks like a porridge of some variety, but I would rather have my food cooked properly and come to me at a reasonable fashion rather than speed it up, get food poisoning. I mean, maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the goal. Cinderella. Some guys just can't hold their arsenic. That's also such an unhinged way to, like, conduct oneself. So you have to imagine that this is their schedule every single day, essentially. And so Cinderella's going in there like, good morning, how did you sleep? Like, here's your stuff. And this bitch is like, obviously you don't care. Go do my ironing. Like, why are you even asking me how I slept? Like, because basic human kindness and decency? Does it matter if she cares if you slept well? No. I would personally wish somebody night terrors if they were treating me this poorly. However, Cinderella is very kind. And so, like, fine. And then pop off with your orders for the day. But, like, she just asked you how you slept. Like, that's on her. Yeah, this is the meme. When you thought you were gonna grow up to be a Disney princess, but then you ended up being the villain. I mean, that looks pretty cozy. She just needs a Kindle, and I don't know where her cup of tea went, but good to go. Is this the same voice actor as Maleficent? Because this voice actor sounds so close to Maleficent. That's so crazy. Oh, it is. Okay, so that's crazy. She's perfect casting. Her voice is so the epitome of calm, collected, commanding, like, regal villain. What a delight. I love her. Okay. I have super mixed feelings about the king because I think the violent outbursts are just unacceptable, and you're having this person who's supposed to be, like, a, like, good guy behaving in such a manner, but also I love the theatrics. the Duke's like, I understand. He's like, no. And just the like grandiosity of him, I am super here for. But like, stop the toxic violence, thank you. But otherwise, what an icon. Headcanon. After his wife died, these two crafted their fantastic queer romance, and it's beautiful. Okay, she's super kind, she's super delightful, but that was so sassy and like music lesson. Obviously the sisters sound awful, but I love that she finds her like little moments of rebellion. Like it's almost grounded in like realism in that kind of way where she has no control, she has no agency over her situation, she's completely within the like control and at the mercy of her stepmother and stepsisters, but she still like finds these little moments to like either have joy or like find just ways to kind of like take back some of herself and maintain her own identity and just like, I don't know, I feel like the little bit of sass is just, it goes a long way. She's actually such a more dynamic and wonderful character than I remember her being, and also way more than people give her credit for in this adaptation. Like it was just so fun. Like her little smug, just a skosh, you know? Like, oh yeah, I just think that little bit goes a long way. Subtlety, it's important. I want to make a point, and I feel like this isn't a new take, but I want to put my own like little flavor on it. Cinderella herself never says that she wants to dance with the prince. She never says that she wants the prince. At least not yet. Like, just when she's like, oh, like, every eligible maiden, that means that I get to go too. Like, I'm also invited. She's not going because she wants to dance with the prince or, like, in, you know, whatever. She just wants to have a nice time at a ball. She wants to go and experience some entertainment and some event because she's obviously been sequestered in her little attic up those thousands and thousands of stairs that she must commute to and fro work every day. So it really isn't about the man, I feel. Like, decentralize men, please. Especially in this kind of a story. She's literally just like, can I please have the night off and go to a fancy party and dance and have fun and just enjoy. And poor Cinderella gets put shoehorned into this little box of like, oh, she's waiting to be saved. No. She wants a nice night off to go and have other people take care of her for once, to offer her a beverage. You know, she just wants to go to a party, and that is so relatable. Ball gowns and tiaras. A nice corset and a thigh dagger. Amazing. It's a product of its time. It's the 50s. I understand it within this context. However, don't gender role stereotype. We're not going to leave the sewing to the women. We are going to allow everyone to learn basic life skills. Like sewing is a basic life skill to fix, mend things, and, you know, like, it's just something that people should know how to do. We don't like sexism. Okay, this is honestly like friendship bare minimum. Like, or it should be friendship bare minimum. That, like, you know, your friend's going through a hard time and there's just like a little something that you can do to help and make them feel better or like support them. I feel like, yeah, we should all be doing a little bit more to help take care of our friends within obviously our capacity and like within our like wherewithal and skill abilities. But like, yeah, bare minimum. Make sure you have friends who would sew you a whole entire dress so that you could get ready to go to a ball and have a nice day off or an evening off while you have to still take care of your horrible family. Like, get some mice besties. Okay, that's really cute, actually. Like, there's just this little section. I hope this doesn't get copyrighted, but that was so funny because her little arm, she like she's so ready. She like does the like lick the string thing and does it, but her whole arm goes through the needle. Her whole arm goes through the needle's eye, and it's just really cute. I just think that was she locked in so hard. She was so ready. I just thought that was cute. The animation is so beautiful. Like, it really is like oil paintings. And I love this. Bring this art style back. This is so... The subtlety in the animation detail in terms of how her facial expression is. She's freaking terrified. And it's so, like, that hits so hard in terms of, again, looking at this from the perspective of she's living in this abusive household, because she's prepared, like, she's, like, internally calculating how bad this is gonna be and what the response is gonna be, especially because the stepmother is so calm right now and how she's approaching. She's probably, like, Cinderella's probably anticipating, like, the worst response. And that's so f***ed up. This is so... There's so many layers to this. Look at the terror! She's, like, she's, like, ready to get, like, fully either, like, beat up or, like, there's some kind of consequence. She has, like, a schema, which is essentially like a social script of like what to expect, like in certain situations. Like we all have social scripts about like if you go to a restaurant and like how you talk to a waiter, or like, you know, like she has like a full on prepped, like she knows how bad it's gonna be next, and she's fucking terrified, and this is actually devastating. And this is a kid's movie. But it's crazy. And that's, you know what? That's why I've been really loving doing this series of, like, adult colored glasses. Because when you're a child, you're not looking at things from that perspective, or you don't have access to be able to look at things for that perspective. Or at least, like, I hope that you don't have the ability to look at things from that perspective. But now, being able to, like, look at these and critically analyze them and, you know, look at them from a perspective of psychology. My background is in psychology, so it's crazy how there's such a deeper story within this story, and the layers are really, really intense if you peel back the like fantasy fairy tale components of it. Like, this this face says it all. And that's really, like, what a haunting experience, what a haunting story. Yeah, that really hits. This is also horrible. I want to do like a deep dive into the nature versus nurture of the stepsisters, because obviously their mom is the worst, right? So obviously they were raised in a space of having that behavior modeled to them. They were rewarded for that behavior, and so of course they're going to continue to perform that behavior and perpetuate it, and it's just going to continue to be a cycle. But I want to kind of do a dive into how much of that is like nurture versus just nature of their personalities and their organic responses in terms of how they react and how they're gonna treat other people. Because especially with like Anastasia, at least, I feel like a lot of like I want to do a full deep dive into this, but the reason why that kind of sparked for me in terms of like how much of their personality and how much of their treatment of Cinderella comes from them being raised in a cycle of abuse versus them being disposed to that behavior. Because Anastasia in the second movie and in the third movie, she actually like has a low-key redemption arc and isn't actually a bad person, but she's been taught to be a bad person and she's treated poorly when she is a good person, and she's rewarded when she acts like an asshole to other people. But her disposition isn't to be awful, and she likes the, you know, she like in the second movie she's like super into that baker, and she like likes flowers and she likes bread, and but like she gets like excited about liking bread, whereas like Drusilla's like such a, ugh, that's so gross, I don't want anything made by a peasant. Like, I'm so curious within their like rearing how much is taught behavior versus how much is just like what's innately their dispositions. And also, same thing for Lady Tremaine. Like, was she raised by an asshole and then it just, the cycle continued and she taught her kids to be that way? Or was it just that she naturally was that way, she grew up and that's how she conducted herself? Because it's so interesting seeing like how, where it starts. But yeah, I'm so intrigued. I want to know how Lady Tremaine's mother treated her and how she taught her how to behave, and then how that like now affects her daughters and how they're like actually awful. I'm super intrigued by just like how, why and how they became this. Also, the deeper layer of how f***ed up this is that was Cinderella's mom's dress, and that's probably one of the last possessions that she ever had of her mom, and they just completely destroyed it. It wasn't even like, girl, you can't have this like one small piece of clothing that I didn't even want, but I'm not gonna let you have, or the jewelry. Like, that's really messed up. That's so fun. I think the fairy godmother is also Flora's voice in Sleeping Beauty. I mean, it makes sense. You would reuse people. The movies were only like 9 years apart, and like, you know, and they were good experiences, but that's super fun. Girl got a custom carriage with like her initial on it. Absolutely gorgeous. What an icon. Twinsies, we got a headband and the bun and the choker. Love it. Iconic. This is such a beautiful dress. Although my favorite Cinderella dress is the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella with like Brandy and Whitney Houston and Bernadette Peters. My queen. But like, that dress is the most beautiful. But this is also stunning. Honestly, Midnight's not unreasonable. If, you know what, I am in my cozy, moving into my, like, adult era, and I want to be in home by, like, 10 with my book and my cozies, and just, like, you know, I don't want to be traversing. I don't want to be gallivanting. Midnight is more than enough. You know, if it starts before 7, we're good. If it starts later than that, it's questionable. The realist thing that the fairy godmother says is have a good time, dance, be gay. Yes. Yes, queen. That's going to be my next D&D name. Madame Augustina Dubois. I like it. Genuinely, actually. I'm going to steal that. That's going to be my next D&D character. I don't know who she's going to be yet, but I'll percolate. What the f*** is that side-eye? Those guys? Are they judging her for being, like, fashionably late? Disrespectful. Let's bring back insults like that. I like pompous windbag. Let's make them more creative and interesting. Bro's spectacle got broken and he immediately got a new one. Headcanon that he has like a whole cabinet just at his disposal because the king keeps breaking it in various different scenarios, incidences, and contexts. And he just needs to make sure that he has a backup because he is that bitch. This is why I feel like the whole concept of saying, oh, Cinderella just wanted like the prince and she waited for the prince to save her, blah blah blah. I don't think that's even the case, because she waited, like, I would argue that the fairy godmother was the one that saved her, because she emboldened her to be able to go have this one experience, have this night, have Cinderella see, here's the other way that you can, like, you can experience joy, you can have nice things, you can go out and live better than what your current situation is. And that emboldens her. Well, she also, yes, there is like support from this man, but I think it's not about this man, it's about her. But yeah, I don't even know, she does, like, she's saying she doesn't even recognize that this man is the prince. She doesn't know, so it's either that she genuinely doesn't know or it's an excuse, which either way, she probably doesn't know. Why would she know? But anyways, it's not about the prince. It's about her and her personal growth and her journey. And that's why I don't mind that the prince is like very bland and kind of like doesn't really have like a personality or really matter that much in this movie, because it's not about him. It's about Cinderella. It's about her journey. It's about her overcoming her own adversities. It's about her having a horrible, traumatic life up until the point where she feels empowered and emboldened to take back her own control and change her circumstances with the support of people who have the ability to support her. So I know that a lot of people complain that the prince is super bland, but it's not about him. He's a very much a side character, so don't mind that he's bland. Decentralized men. It's Cinderella's story. I will... That is the one thing that I think is, like, absolutely absurd. Is that they spent all that time together. They were about to kiss. They, like, danced the whole time she was there. Like, they were together the whole time. And he didn't ask her name. Isn't that the first thing you would do? That kind of takes me out of the, like... I don't know. That takes me out of it a little bit. And that is, like, a demerit on him. But also, why wouldn't... Not to, like, put it on Cinderella, but wouldn't you be like, oh, hello, it's super nice to meet you. This has been such a lovely time dancing. By the way, my name is Cinderella. And, what's yours? Like, both of them are kind of... That's kind of on both of them. Because, like, why wouldn't that be, like, one of the first things? But not even just that, like, also with, like, the whole shoe thing, like, I can also suspend my disbelief a little bit within, like, he doesn't know exactly, like, who this person is, but he at least should know that she has blue eyes, and that she's blonde, and her general features, her general height, perhaps. So, like, he could have given a vague description to the people who, like, go and try and find her and do the shoe thing. That's fine. But also, that's disgusting. Could you imagine? Think about it like this. You have a bowling shoe. Stick with me. There's a point. Think of bowling shoes. And how they're disgusting. And so many people put their feet in those shoes. And every single time after you use them, they get sprayed with, like, chemicals to keep them from, like, spreading funguses and etc., right? They are cleaned in a fashion. Are they cleaning this glass slipper? Probably not. What chemical, what Lysol wipes do they have in fantasy ancient France, I think? Because they, you know, we're using, like, Mademoiselle and whatever. But, like, really? I don't know if I would try on the shoe. I'd probably be like, you know what? I'm okay. I'm okay. Wasn't me. It wasn't me. It's not my shoe. Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of wild. I mean, glass probably doesn't, like, retain the same level of, like, grossness that fabric would, but it would still be unfortunate. This is also so unhinged. This lady is like, okay, thanks so much for the experience. This was lovely. I had a great time. I'm gonna head out now. And then he's like, actually, why? Please don't. And he follows her as she's trying to leave. And then his servant, he's like the duke, right? But like essentially his servant is like, oh my gosh, she's leaving. They send guards after her. Like spooky, like red caped guards are like chasing this girl down as she's trying to leave. She said no. She said, thank you, but I'm gonna head out now. And he refused to acknowledge her boundary, and her consent had been withdrawn for their interaction to continue. Shameful. Don't be this prince. Bro had a sword out? Wait a second. Hold on. Bro has a sword. Bro has a sword chasing after this carriage. It should not have been that deep. It should not have gone that far. She was like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed. Thank you for the dance and the wonderful time. I'm good, thank you. Guards are now chasing her with a sword. Unacceptable. Yeah, she straight up didn't know he was the prince. She just wanted a nice night off. And then he had people chase her down with swords. Well, okay, the prince didn't have her chased down. However, he did try to, like, force her to do something. She was, like, clearly in distress trying to leave, right? But then his servant had guards chase her down with swords in hand. That's unhinged. That is unacceptable behavior. That is the ick. I just had a thought that maybe it's not actually really a plot hole, that in this particular one that the king is like, try the slipper on any and everyone, you know, just like cover all the bases, whoever it fits is who the prince is going to marry, because the only motivation of the king is to have grandchildren. So him sending off the duke to be like, find literally anyone to marry off my son to, because that's been his whole thing this whole time. So it's not really outlandish. It's kind of crazy. I mean, the magic of the fairy tale comes into play with Cinderella's foot being the only one that the shoe fits. But the king in this iteration being like, I don't give a shit who it is, just get my son a wife so that I can have grandchildren and that the line of succession for the throne is good to go and I don't have to stress about it anymore. That's all very, like, well and good. The prince not knowing her name is crazy, and not giving any sort of description is kind of like, even if he had, it wouldn't have mattered because of, again, the context in which this was, like, set within the king. So yeah, it's kind of like, and the prince isn't the one who's doing the searching. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not as egregious as we all collectively thought it was before. It's holding up pretty well. Aww, beautiful. Look at them go. And they lived happily ever after. And that was the 1950s Disney's Cinderella. That was so much fun and super cute and way more dynamic and deep than like any other time that I've watched it. I've never like gone that intellectual with it, but it was really fun to watch this in such a analytical and dissecting kind of capacity and having a lot of fun with that. So yeah, I really enjoyed watching it. I think it still holds up really well. There was lots of good things to consider and lots of good things to critique and look at in a different perspective now, coming from being like in my adult years. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I would give this like a 4 out of 5. Let me know in the comments which Cinderella adaptation is your favorite. Mine is the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella with Brandy and Bernadette Peters, because so fun, so good. That one's just pure delight. It's so much fun. But yes, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, consider giving a like and subscribing to continue joining us on all of our adventures. But with that, thank you all so much for watching. Everything with love, and we'll see you next time in the treasure trove. Bye.